The first scream tore through the night like a blade, raw, choking, guttural, and then it was gone. Silence fell like a guillotine. Somewhere in the woods behind Ashlane Drive, a flashlight blinked once, then never again. Duskmire Keep wasn't on any real map. It clung to the edge of forgotten mountains, where fog crawled like living skin and the trees whispered things that didn't feel like wind. The town's name came from a corrupted old sign, barely standing at the end of the cracked road in. Locals joked it should read, "Don't stay, don't look back," but no one laughed for real. People didn't move to Duskmire. They stumbled into it. Car trouble, wrong turn, maybe some family inheritance left to rot in the hills. And once they arrived, they stayed or they vanished. Everything in Duskmire had a second skin. The pharmacy had shelves of outdated medicine and a back room that no one entered, not even the pharmacist. The gas station played static instead of music on the radio, and the single diner, Murphy's, had booths with cushions cracked and worn through to metal springs. No one ever saw Murphy. The waitress, Nancy, wore the same red lipstick every day, her name tag scratched down the middle like it didn't belong to her. The air was always wrong. It pressed close to the skin, heavy like you were underwater. It smelled faintly of mildew and iron, no matter the season. And the quiet wasn't absence, it was presence, a waiting, something listening. Sunsets in Duskmire didn't fade. They snapped shut. One moment there was light, and the next, a deep, velvety blackness that swallowed stars. It came too fast, too hard, like the sky itself was afraid to linger. The police didn't speak of the disappearances, not even off the record. The sheriff, Brome, kept a stiff jaw and colder eyes, and everyone knew his son had gone missing 3 years ago on Halloween. They still found his dog circling the porch some nights, whimpering. The town's children knew, though. They knew what not to say, what not to play. But teenagers, they always forgot, or they dared each other to remember. That's how the game began. Or maybe it had always been there, just waiting for new players. Hide and seek, midnight, in the woods. No flashlights, no phones. You hid, one seeker, the rest, runners. If you got tagged, you had to freeze. If you were found, you became it. The rules were simple, but like everything in Duskmire, there were layers beneath. Because if the game found you first, you didn't come back. They whispered about it. The children with too wide eyes, the mothers with too quiet grief, the graves that had no bodies, and the woods remembered everything. The wind didn't rustle, it murmured names, words in a dead tongue, and one name more than the others, Casey. That was the last scream, the one that started it all again. Casey Whitlock had been playing. She shouldn't have, but she laughed too loud and ran too fast and didn't believe in ghosts. The scream wasn't hers. That was the worst part. It was something else. Something that had been playing this game a very, very long time. And it had just opened its eyes again. Casey's disappearance haunted the town for 3 days. On the 4th, the wind shifted. The smell of copper returned to the air, and the game waited for someone to take her place. That's when they made the dare. There were 4 of them, bound tighter than blood. Elise Marrow had a spine of glass and steel. Tall, with a quicksilver stare and long blonde hair she always kept tied back in a braid like a noose. Her father was the town undertaker. She grew up surrounded by the dead and never flinched. She could gut a fish with her eyes closed and never blinked at roadkill. But when she was alone, she played music at full volume as if silence might swallow her. Jude Thorne was the comedian, tall, lanky, full of biting jokes and sarcastic charm. He dyed his hair black, painted his nails blood red, and laughed when people called him a freak. But behind the eyeliner and the grin, his eyes carried storm clouds. Jude's house was the kind with boarded windows and no mother. His father drank more than he spoke. Jude laughed because it hurt less than screaming. Noah Bellamy was quiet, not shy, measured in the way you measure storms before they break. He was a thinker, an observer, always 5 seconds ahead, always carrying a notebook where he scribbled down details others missed. His sister disappeared 7 years ago, playing the same game. He never said her name aloud, but he carved it into the edge of his bedroom desk until the wood splintered. Mara Sloan was the fire. Short, wild curls, wide-set hazel eyes that looked like autumn leaves and chaos. She spoke in half-truths and double dares. Mara didn't fear the dark. She welcomed it. She hated Duskmire with a passion that turned her veins to sparks. Her mother claimed she was born during a thunderstorm, screaming louder than the sky. If the world was going to burn, Mara wanted to light the match. They were all 18, standing on the edge of everything, old enough to know better, young enough to not care. On the night of October 28th, they met in the cemetery behind the church, not because they believed in ghosts, but because they liked the feel of it, the way the cold seeped into your bones, the way the fog moved like fingers. "We play," Mara said, biting the end of a matchstick, "for Casey." No one argued, not even Noah. It wasn't about honor or revenge. It was about proving that whatever was out there didn't own them. Not yet. They didn't speak as they walked. The woods behind Duskmire's cemetery were thick and ancient, trees tangled together like the fingers of buried giants. The dirt path beneath their feet had been there longer than any town record, worn into the land like a scar. Fog pooled in the hollows. The moon, hidden behind churning clouds, gave only the barest light, as if it too refused to look. Jude broke the silence first with a low whistle. "Nice night to die horribly." Noah gave him a look but said nothing. His fingers hovered near the zipper of his jacket, where a thin hunting knife was sheathed. Not that he believed it would help, not against that scream. The one that had echoed through the woods when Casey vanished. The one that had sounded wrong, not human. Elise kept glancing behind them, not because she heard anything, but because she didn't. There were no insects, no owls, just that thick, swallowing silence. Mara led them with reckless determination. She didn't pause when the path split into shadows. She didn't hesitate at the line of trees where the game began. She stepped into the dark like it was an old friend. "We draw straws," she whispered. "Same as always." Jude fished 4 broken matchsticks from his pocket. One was shorter. They drew in silence. Elise's hand shook as she revealed hers. Jude flashed his. Mara showed hers, grinning. Noah had the short one. He nodded once, lips pressed tight. "Elise, count to 100, Mara said. "Then we run." Elise nodded and crouched by an old fallen tree. She faced away and began to count in a whisper, each number a breath. The others scattered. Mara bolted left between 2 black-trunked pines that leaned unnaturally toward one another. Jude vanished behind a curtain of hanging moss. Noah stood still for a second, listening, like he was waiting to hear something, then turned and jogged deeper into the woods. Elise reached 40. A wind stirred. 55. Something clicked behind her. Not a twig, not an animal. It sounded mechanical, cold, intentional. 63. She kept counting. 70. The wind stopped, but something else moved closer. 88. Her voice cracked. 90. She felt breath on her neck. 98. She turned around. Nothing. 100. She stood slowly. Her candle, left behind on a grave, flickered back to life for just 1 heartbeat, then extinguished itself. The flame hadn't sputtered. It had been snuffed. Elise took off into the woods. The game was on. Somewhere deeper in the trees, Noah crouched beneath a rotting log, breath shallow. He hadn't heard anyone else, but he felt it, a pull in the air, like pressure dropping before a thunderstorm, like something watching with 1,000 unseen eyes. He reached into his pocket and pulled out his sister's bracelet. Just a cheap thing, plastic beads, a butterfly charm. He closed his fist around it. Footsteps, crunching leaves, too heavy to be Jude, too slow for Mara. They stopped. Then a whisper, not a voice, more like a thought pressed against his ear. Tag. Noah didn't scream, he bolted. Jude hadn't run far. He crouched high in the trees, balancing on a thick, mossy branch. He could see through the canopy a little, patches of moonlight breaking through. He was about to shift position when he felt it. The branch pulsed beneath him, not like wind, like breath. Jude froze. Slowly, he looked down. Another branch, lower down, was curling upward. No breeze moved it. It bent like a finger, like it had noticed him. He didn't wait. He jumped, rolled, and vanished into the underbrush. The branch didn't follow, but something else did. Mara's blood sang in her veins. The darkness thrilled her. She crouched low beneath an uprooted tree. Around her the woods seemed too still, too perfect in their quiet. She whispered to herself, "You can't scare me. I want to see you." And something whispered back, "Do you?" She spun, but there was nothing there. No, not nothing. Something was wrong with the trees. They weren't where they had been. The clearing was too wide now. The stump she'd been leaning against was gone. Mara stood slowly. The woods had changed, like they were rearranging themselves, like a maze, like a trap. She turned to run and slammed into a tree that hadn't been there before. It bled. She staggered back. The tree wasn't bark, it was skin. She ran. All four of them were moving now, but something else was too. In the center of the woods, a shape unfurled, towering, boneless. Its face a blur of stolen voices. It didn't walk, it slithered. And it didn't play by the rules. Jude thought he was alone. That was his first mistake. He'd found a hollow in the earth, an animal den maybe, or the remains of some forgotten shelter, lined with thick moss and broken branches. He curled up inside it, every muscle tight, eyes darting from shadow to shadow. Every time he blinked, the darkness seemed to shift. He checked his phone again. No signal, just a pulsing static icon where the bars should be, and the time hadn't changed. Still 12:06 a.m. He felt it before he heard it, something near but not approaching, watching, studying. And then came the clicking, sharp, bone against bone, a rhythm with no pattern, the sound of teeth too long to belong in any normal mouth. Jude squeezed his eyes shut. "It's not real," he whispered. "It's just the game." But something laughed, a wheezing, rattling exhale from the trees, like a lung full of rot. The den quivered around him, branches twisted upward, not out, curling toward the sky like desperate fingers. A hand slipped through the hollow, fingers pale and too many. Not 5, 7, maybe 8. Jude screamed, and the den collapsed. Elise ran, tears hot on her cheeks. She didn't remember why she started crying, only that something had looked at her from inside a tree. Its eyes were stitched shut, and it smiled anyway. She stumbled into a ravine, fell hard against the rocks, and screamed as her ankle twisted beneath her. Pain exploded up her leg. She gasped and looked up. The forest had gone silent again. Too silent. She dragged herself backward, fingers scraping against roots and stone, until she found shelter under an outcrop. Her breath came in ragged sobs. Then soft footsteps, too soft, like something pretending to be light. Elise clutched the pendant around her neck, her grandmother's, her only comfort. A voice echoed from above. "Elise!" Her heart stopped. It was her father's voice, dead 3 years, buried in that cemetery. "Come out, baby. It's okay. The game's over." She shook her head. "You're not real. You miss me, don't you?" The voice cooed. She bit her lip hard enough to draw blood. A figure leaned over the ledge, not her father, not anything. A melted face like wax poured over bone, hollow sockets, and teeth, dozens where cheeks and forehead should have been. It giggled like a child. She tried to crawl, but her ankle gave out. The thing reached down. She screamed until the trees swallowed the sound. Noah ran until his lungs burned. His legs trembled beneath him. He crashed through brush, blind to everything but escape. Finally, he collapsed against a stone, an old, crumbling grave marker far deeper in the woods than it should be, moss-covered, etched with a name he couldn't read. And next to it, a door, a wooden door, standing upright. No walls, just there. He stared at it, breath catching. It pulsed gently, like it was breathing. He stepped closer, pressed his palm to the wood. Cold, smooth, then warm. A whisper curled out from beneath it. "One always lives." He staggered back. Behind him, something stirred. Leaves crackled. A low growl, wet, animal, and yet wrong, like vocal cords stitched together from too many things. Noah turned to face it, his knife drawn now, pointless but comforting. The thing stepped into view, tall, skin stretched too tight over shifting bones. Its eyes flickered with memory, familiarity. It wore Elise's pendant, blood still fresh. Noah didn't scream. He ran toward the door. It opened for him, and the woods roared shut. Noah stumbled through. The door closed with a sound like a heartbeat slamming shut. Behind him, the forest vanished. The air changed, no longer cool and damp, but dry, dead. The world he emerged into was colorless, not black and white, but something else, drained. A realm bled of meaning. The ground beneath his feet cracked like old bone. Ash blew on a wind that had no source. In the distance, a town emerged through the haze. Duskmire Keep, but twisted, as if rebuilt by someone who had only seen the place in a dream. Streets sagged at impossible angles. Street lamps flickered without bulbs. Every house looked half melted, their walls weeping tar. He took one step, then another. Voices whispered around him, fragments of games long played. "Ready or not, don't look back. You're it." He passed what looked like the corner store. The shelves were bare except for one, lined with rows of teeth, child-sized, each marked with names. One name stood out, etched in red across the glass. Elsa. He turned away, bile rising in his throat. Further down the road, he reached the town square. The statue that should have stood in the center, an old war memorial, was replaced. In its place, a towering figure of the thing, rooted tendrils where its face should be, spindled fingers outstretched. In its hands, dolls, crude but detailed. One bore Jude's jacket, one wore Elise's pendant. The last doll had his face. Noah backed away. Then he saw the door again, another door, this one red, pulsing with soft light, familiar. It was the door from his childhood home. His sister's room. He reached out and opened it. Inside, a little girl's voice humming a tune, soft, almost soothing. "Ring around the rosy." The room was pristine, untouched. Toys lined the shelves. The wallpaper still had the little butterflies. And sitting on the edge of the bed, Elsa, or something wearing her. Her eyes were wrong, too wide, too flat, her head tilted like it weighed too much, and her skin shimmered, not alive, waxen. "You came back," she said. Noah froze, his mind screamed to run, but his feet wouldn't move. "They all come back eventually," she continued. "The game never ends, Noah. You just change sides." Behind her, the wall cracked. From it, the thing emerged. Not crawling, not walking, just folding into the room. Its eyes found him. "You're it," Elsa whispered. The door slammed shut behind him. Darkness. Then a breath, his own. He stood alone in the cemetery, morning light filtering through the mist. No door, no town, no Elsa, just silence. In his hand, the butterfly bracelet. Around his feet, footprints, children's, dozens. He was alive, but something had come back with him. The wind hissed through the trees. Tag. Mara had never run so hard in her life. She didn't scream, not when she saw Elise's broken pendant caught on the edge of a jagged tree, not when Jude's jacket was left shredded along a stump as though something had peeled him out of it. She kept moving, eyes wild, mind locked into a tunnel of survival. She didn't cry, not until she stumbled across the creek. It was familiar, the place they used to play when they were kids, where they dared each other to cross the slick stones and teased Noah for falling in. The water here should have been shallow, clear. Now it was thick, red. It smelled like pennies and rot. Mara fell to her knees. Her hands shook. Her body couldn't stop trembling. The memories came fast and sharp. Laughter, summer nights, fireflies and flashlights. And now this. She crawled to the edge of the creek, sobbing. A reflection shimmered. Not hers. A face. Hollow-eyed, grinning with a mouth too wide. She reeled back, but no one stood there. Only a voice. You never stopped playing. She spun. Nothing. Then something moved beneath the water. It pulsed, then split. Arms reached up. Her arms, her face, her eyes. Mara stared at her own reflection crawling out of the creek, twisted, wet, smiling. I'm you when the lights go out, it whispered. Mara ran, but the forest shifted around her. Every tree pointed back. Every breath she took became harder. And then light. A single flashlight beam in the distance, moving. Noah! She screamed. She ran toward it, dodging limbs and roots. The light grew brighter. She burst into the clearing and stopped cold. It wasn't Noah. It was the thing holding his flashlight. Its mouth split open, revealing her own voice echoing back. Tag, you're it. Mara screamed, but no sound came out. The creature surged forward, faster than thought. Black, silence. When Mara awoke, it was morning. She lay alone on the cemetery grass, her clothes soaked, her mind blank. But she was alive. She stood slowly, pain blooming in every muscle. Something shifted behind her. Noah. He stood there, pale, holding the bracelet. You saw it too, he said. Mara nodded. They didn't speak again. They just stared at the woods as the wind blew. Tag. Something hadn't ended. It had only begun. Noah and Mara sat in silence beneath the crumbling gazebo at the edge of town. The early morning sun filtered through the warped slats of wood above them, but it gave no warmth. Nothing felt safe anymore, not even daylight. Noah held his notebook open in his lap, fingers tracing the worn edges of the pages. Diagrams, names, symbols, pages of their childhood transformed into a record of horror. They're gone, Mara said softly, her voice cracked and dry. Elise, Jude. He nodded. I think they're part of it now. Mara didn't ask what he meant. She already knew. She had seen her own face climbing from the creek, heard her voice echo back from the thing in the woods. They were marked. It wants us to play, Noah said. It always wanted us to play. But why us? He turned a page. Years ago, after Elsa disappeared, his dad had given him this notebook, told him to draw what he remembered, what he dreamed. Noah had filled it with monsters and maps and nonsense, or so he thought. But now it felt like a blueprint. This isn't just about us, he said. It's about Duskmire, the town, the land. Something was buried here, something ancient. We didn't start this game. We just stepped into it. And now we're stuck in it, Mara muttered. Noah's eyes met hers. Unless we break it? She laughed, a hollow, hopeless sound. Break what, Noah? We don't even know what it is. We know one thing, he said. It's feeding. The more we play, the stronger it gets. And if we stop playing? He looked down at the butterfly bracelet. It changes the rules. They sat in silence again. Then Mara reached into her pocket and pulled out something small, a torn scrap of paper, a page from Jude's journal. On it, scrawled in frantic ink, "They only see you when you're moving." Noah's eyes widened. "The statue in the square," he whispered. "It wasn't there until I moved toward it." "It's not just a game," Mara said. "It's a hunt." A cold wind blew through the gazebo, scattering leaves across their feet. They looked up. At the same time, "We go back," Noah said. Mara didn't flinch. "We finish it." Together they stood, two against whatever nightmare ruled the woods. They didn't know the full plan, but they knew the first step. They had to go back to the place it all began. The playground in the forest, where the game had never ended.